Monica, Melanie. Y'all, people that know me know I'm good at messing up names. Miss Melanie, would you, Monica, whichever it is. She's representing Ms. Phyllis today. She works here as the planning and events coordinator for the Enterprise Center. So she's going to welcome you all here.
Good morning, all, or good afternoon. My name is Melanie. I am the program coordinator for the Enterprise Center. And I want to extend my thank you to the Southwest Florida Impact Partners and take this opportunity to share information about our wonderful facility and the programs that we offer. At our facility, we offer business consulting, prototype development, market needs, and problem solving. And that's just to name a few. We also have our 4th cohort starting in August that will pave way for startup or early stage business owners. Our programs, workshops, and seminars help educate business owners in a wide range of subjects. Our incubator program provides quality education through helping our participants create customer personas, design thinking and empathy, and problem solution alignment. Our mission is to be a learning laboratory for business owners and managers. And with that, thank you for your time and for coming to the insurance panel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, house rules. We do not stop to eat. If you want something to eat, you get up, you go up there and get it, and you come back to your seat, and just don't speak any. You know, you have to rotate, right? You can't do both at the same time. I'm just saying.
You can wait till
that. So, and I don't even know if I've been doing this, but I always do it on my own, because normally I don't eat, but I always bless my food. So if I would, I'm going to do a quick blessing of the food, and then we're going to go ahead and get started with our panel introductions and go forward. Okay?
All right.
All right, let us pray. Father, thank you for the food we're about to receive. Thank you for the edifying of our body, mind, soul, and spirit. In Christ Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. All right. Now, today we're talking insurance. When it comes to business, I have learned from experience that a lot of people don't really know what types of insurances there are out there for them as a business, and what they really need for themselves and their families for their business. And so these professionals are here to talk about their aspects of business insurance and personal insurance. They're two separate things, but they encompass the same entity, you. I have my agent sitting there on the end, and I have Craig, he's also an agent of mine. Both of them cover me with insurances, but for different things. So it's good to know that, because most people don't. Most people in business think all they need is liability insurance. And that's far as they go. Well, I got my liability insurance, but I'm not going to go into their Kool-Aid.
There we go. Still the punchline.
So I'm going to stop right there because I can't go down that road, but I don't want to. That's what these guys are for. Now, this is what this is about. Now, most of you have been to our other lunch and learns. You as a business, you need to have a relationship with somebody in the insurance business. I mean a relationship, not an acquaintance. Oh, I buy my car insurance from Allstate or Progress. That's not going to help you. That young lady right there and Craig, they called me, Lee, your premium is going to be due in about a week. Are you ready? If you need more time, let me know what we need to do. Everybody don't do that for you. How many people call you in a week or two ahead of time to say, remind you your premium is due? You're out there working, doing what you're doing, you ain't thinking about it. My health insurance and insurance, I spend over $6,000 between car insurance and health insurance a month. If I didn't get the call from her and Craig For the stuff I have going on, there'll be some people that work for me that won't have health insurance. And we don't want to know what it's like being on the road today, right? What I'm trying to tell you is this is no game, this is real. Now, you may not deal with any of these people here, but you need to listen to them and what they're sharing with you. Because whoever you deal with, you need to know them well enough, and they need to know you well enough that they're looking out for you as well in your business and your family. Okay? Now, I'm going to shut up now. And we're going to start with Big Kevin. He don't want to start.
Sure.
Well, what I want you to do is you're going to introduce yourselves. We're going to give you about 10 minutes or so to do that.
You're gonna have to cut me off from.
You got to leave, right?
Early at 12.
Do you wanna go first, Myrtle?
Well, you go first, Merch.
Go.
You don't want to. Why you want to leave at 12 and don't go first?
Set the bar real high for the
Let
rest
the
of
bar
us.
run, please. Please, set the bar run.
So I better slide under it.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say that's what she said. So she's done.
Now,
Now,
guys,
she
it
said
won't be
dinner what she said.
rude. It will not be rude to go get you something to eat and bring it back.
All right, got it.
While Myrtle is
You
talking.
must look hungry. He's talking to you.
He couldn't look at you directly. Okay, so you gonna let everybody introduce themselves first, then I'll start?
No, ma'am. You're going to go ahead and start because you got to leave here in 15 minutes, and then we'll go around down the table.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Myrtle October, and I am your insurance lady, the insurance lady. I am definitely excited to be here today and have some gifts for you guys. I want to start off by asking you who has had someone die in the last year, in this last year, 2023. Someone passed away. What was that like for you before the funeral? Were they close to you? They were? Did you have to spend any money to help out to get that insurance policy? I mean, to get them buried or funeral costs?
Yeah,
anything
we
like
gotta
that?
collect some money.
You had to collect money? So, I want to talk about insurance as an investment. I'm also a Medicare Advantage lady who helps people who are 65 and older. So if you have anybody who's like that in your family, who's older, the open enrollment's coming, and there's a lot of different awesome plans that can connect them to their Medicare, which is original Medicare, and get them started. But I want to talk about insurance as an investment. And these jars represent a lot of things. One of the things you'll see on my card is no more jars and bars or GoFundMe accounts. And the reason why I say that is because as African Americans in our community, we find that there's all too often we're doing that when someone passes away. And if you did it ahead of time, insurance is kind of like doing it ahead of time. So if the person is a baby and you have a baby, the insurance premiums are much smaller than if they were a teen. It gets higher, then a middle age, and then elderly. Those expenses get higher. And if I were to add to these jars any type of disease, ailments, your age, of course, right? Then this increases astronomically. So while if you think of each dollar in this jar as a 10, babies, infants, $6 to $10 a month if you start them off and you continue to pay their premiums over time for whole life. For terms, they start at 18 up to 8 years old. So whole life you can do infant to 80 years old, and terms 18 years old to 80 years old. So these jars represent that. So what I love about insurance is this. If we are all paying into this pot ahead of time, not after someone dies, right? So what happens is this. These premiums, they get collected when that person passes away, or with term they have an illness or some type of living issue. So we call those living benefits. A lot of times people do terms for living benefits. All that money, well, imagine this being several different people, forget about the infancy, teen, and elderly, but think of this as everybody now has been paying their premiums over their lifetime. And what happens is, instead of jars and bars and GoFundMe accounts, you now have all that money you've invested, and you don't need to get any help from your relatives, friends, or neighbors, or people in the community who don't know you. Because that's embarrassing. Even though we don't want to say it, we know what it feels like to have to ask somebody, even for a friend, if it's not our relative, the fact that we got to go ask for help. But if we've already been taking our Starbucks money, or we're taking that Chick-fil-A money, no pun intended, and we put that into an insurance policy and invest in ourselves right now, it's probably the most easiest investment you can make in yourself without knowing stock markets or anything. Your family can dig into this and say, oh, we good, just come and show up. We got everything, don't worry. I remember my grandmother passing away. And before that, I had a couple cousins who got shot and different things like that from upstate New York. It's always bad, you know? Because then you're like, okay, I gotta dig and find some money for them now, who they're really not in my inner circle of people that I have to care for. But man, you don't wanna just leave your family hanging. So now I gotta go dig into my savings account to help a cousin, my aunt, my brother, somebody I said was my godchild 20 years ago, and I haven't seen in 30 years. And now I take from my family. You know how I be. Cash out and be like, you look like you're doing good. Well, I'm doing good for my family, not really necessarily wasn't thinking not to be mean, but you're not really planning for everybody around you. But I do believe in having a small benevolence on the side, just in case. Now I have to do that because I do have a lot of family. But instead of now asking a bunch of strangers for people for their money, you can now take that investment and put it all into your family member who passed away or had an illness, and now you've invested in yourself. It's just like having an emergency fund with $1,000, $2,000 in it. Instead of using your credit card, you can then take that $2,000 and go get that thing done instead of borrowing it from whoever it is, right? So that's what insurance is, it's an investment. So besides me doing Medicare Advantage, I also offer life, whole in term, as well final expense. So if you didn't do all this, right, you didn't do your premiums over a period of time, we got final expense. Final expense is probably also one of the best pieces of investment you can do, because yes, it says, you know, I'm 68 right now, I got all these diseases, they're not gonna check you, they're just saying, hey, let's take care of the final things that matter. The insurance cost, the burial, the funeral expenses, maybe $8,000 to $10,000. And that's gonna be about a $150 premium if you haven't started already. But just so you know, that's really what it is. So I have a question for you. Who has insurance? I know it's kind of out here, but I wanna give away these gifts. And I don't have any reason to give them away other than to ask you a question. I have also detergent, and please tell me my time. Put your hand up if you got insurance. You're gonna get some toilet paper. Any kind of insurance, casualty, any kind. I don't do casualty. Aaron, you want to pass out insurance to anybody who has a parent 65 or older in here? Go ahead and give them laundry detergent. I'm not leaving the money, but I just wanted to have a good representation.
Some people were saving their hand for
Who in here has a question? They're going to get something too. Anybody have a question about what I just shared? Jars and bars and funding, GoFundMe accounts. And that's basically the presentation for me. I would love, yes.
Yeah, my question, my mother is 80. I get an insurance
Yes.
for her, right?
Up to 80 years old. I can insure your mother up to 80 years old. Whole life or term. And of course, if she doesn't have Medicare Advantage or Medicare supplement, she can get that too. So raise your hand if you have a mom 65, anybody 65 or older in your household. Next, what's that? What's that doing?
What that mean? No questions yet. You gotta hold your questions till after they finish.
Oh, so
She's good.
Well, she's about to head out.
I know that, but still root goes.
Okay, her.
thank you.
You guys get your time and then we get out.
I see one of these hands going up.
So I can't answer any questions. Interesting. Okay.
I got
So you have my card? Yes, okay. So I do have to go because I have another thing going on at 12 o'clock. I have to be at 12:30 in Lehigh, and I apologize for that. I've double booked. My name is Myrtle October, and my information is right in front of you. I'll show it to you. And don't, my sons helped me, and I wanted to make sure you knew who gave you this. So if you have an elderly person, 65 or older, or anyone on Medicare Part A and Part B, fill this out and leave it here. I will come back to get it. This is just a gift to you to kind of walk you through the process and what you would need if you have an appointment with an insurance agent, and as well my card. So I cover Medicare Advantage, but I also do life and whole terms, okay? So I'm definitely here for you. I'm not just your insurance lady, but I'm like, hi auntie, hi uncle, because I believe in making sure that the elderly are taken care of in the community, but I also believe that if you're gonna work with somebody, you gotta like them and know them and trust them. And so I don't come into your home looking to harm you or hurt you. I wanna help you and make sure you have what you need, so that way you can win, okay? And we gotta be doing the bars and jars and GoFundMe accounts. We don't gotta do that. Love y'all. All right. And I will leave the gifts, not the money.
You can use the podium if you like, or you can do what Myrtle did.
I did not bring jars and money. I set that bar very high. But good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ashley Duckett. I am the owner of Top Notch Insurance Services, doing business as We Insure. We Insure is an independently owned franchise organization, not like an Allstate or State Farm. We are independent insurance brokers, so we can shop out your insurance. We specialize in personal lines and commercial lines insurance, and our agency is here in Fort Myers. We service all of the state of Florida and some states outside of Florida. But Mr. Ford was my first customer when I opened my agency back in June of 19. So thank you for being a loyal customer. But not only is he a customer, he has become a friend. I have been to his home. He knows about my son. We have mutual friends. I've insured some of his other family members that I've known for years. So when I met Lee, it was very apparent how small the world is, and he has invited me here to speak with you today about the important needs of insurance. And as we all know, insurance is very expensive, and there are a lot of different types of insurance. You have your homeowners, you have your auto, you have your recreational vehicles, whether it be a boat, a jet ski, a motorcycle, and then you have your business insurance, which there's multiple lines of business insurance. Your general liability, your workers' compensation, professional liability, employee practices liability, and the list goes on. So there's a lot that you need to be aware of protecting yourself when it comes to your personal insurance and your business insurance, and making sure that you're covering your assets and what you've worked so hard to build for yourself. It takes one incident to see it go away and go away quickly. Unfortunately, I have had a client experience something by not taking the professional advice that was offered to him. He was offered an umbrella policy because he had multiple rental properties. He said, I don't need it, I don't need it, I don't need it. 2 weeks later, he called me. He was approaching an intersection, and a gentleman on his bicycle was riding in the crosswalk area, and he hit him on his bicycle, and he lost every rental property he owned because he was sued. So making sure that you have a trusted relationship with an insurance advisor that is having your best interest at heart is extremely important. We live in a world where there are a lot of people that are looking to get rich quick off of somebody else's hard work. Whether you've experienced it yourself or you've had this conversation before, it's very important, even though it is costly, to carry the appropriate insurance to protect yourself, your family, and your business, your employees, and anybody else that could potentially be financially dependent on you. And to kind of go off of what Myrtle said, life insurance. I'm licensed, I do not sell it, but it is probably the most important thing that you can purchase for yourself and for your family. The financial burden of losing a loved one is not something that should be added on to already having to grieve the loss of losing that loved one. So it is a gift for your family, and it'll assumes that liability of yourself and making sure that you're not providing an additional burden to them. So, I have about 10 years of insurance experience. Prior to that, I was an event manager helping people like yourself learn about starting and running a business. And it wasn't long ago I could have been sitting in the seat that you're sitting in. So I want to congratulate all of you for taking the risk of going into business for yourself. As a small business owner, it is not an easy thing to do. So I commend you all on what you're doing, and any questions you have, feel free to reach out. And thank you.
Next,
You're next.
please skip me? You gonna,
No,
sure? Wanna go?
Yeah, sure.
You gotta use it all.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. It's 3 minutes to afternoon, so. My name's Kevin Curtin, and I'm an insurance agent with the Insurance Office of America. I'm a specialty insurance broker. I only insure contractors, okay? I came over to Fort Myers 12 years ago from Boston, where I was an insurance agent there. So I've been at this game for about 22 years now. I really got heavily involved in insurance, and especially with contractors in Boston, because I started my career during a project called the Big Dig. The Big Dig is one of the biggest infrastructure projects in the United States history, where it took a very large amount of Boston proper and put it underground for traffic, so we could beautify the city with parking. It was a multi-billion-dollar project that lasted many, many years. So for a project that started off to be $1 billion and last 3 years, it was in the 20 billions and lasted over a decade. You know, in 2009, that project was over. The economy was in rough shape. My parents lived here, so I decided to come and start my career over again in Florida. It's been a wonderful move. I love Florida. I started with a company called Oswald Tripp & Company. You might know them, Lee. It's a very wonderful, small, local agency, very involved in the community. I quickly got very involved in the community with Rotary Club and many other nonprofits that I donated my time and resources to. Again, so all I do is construction insurance, property, liability, auto, and workers' comp. I also, being in that industry, can help my clients with risk management. I do safe driver training for employees, and do a lot of, basically, you know, it seems ridiculous, but most of my claims are from back injuries, right? So I usually have seminars at least once a year for my clients on proper lifting techniques to avoid those types of claims. Another thing that y'all should realize, especially coming into business, or if you've been just in business for a couple of years, insurance agents are very well connected in our community, and they all have very deep connections, right? So my customers, I get many calls during the week that have nothing to do with insurance. A person has just opened up their business and said, Kev, who's the best accountant? I need an accountant. Or I have a situation where I need a lawyer to look at a contract that I'm about to sign. So don't forget, you know, your insurance agent should be a trusted advisor to you on many other aspects that go with your business. If you're interested, if you're starting to hire people and you think that payroll companies could be a good idea for you. Well, I know people at ADP, people at Paychecks. I can at least give you an idea of what that looks like on leasing employees rather than retaining them into your own business. There's benefits, cost benefits to that. There's negatives to it. I'll be always honest with you and be able to provide you with resources and people that you need to help you in your business. So again, my name is Kevin Curtin, and I'm with the Insurance Office of America.
I was hoping.
How long are you gonna avoid
I'm really
this?
trying to avoid it because I was hoping somebody would make it easy for me. But all you guys are, you know, wonderful. So would you like to go?
I will go.
Just throw me a bone, okay? Make it.
Hello, my name is Deanna Jonty. I am from the Midwest, originally Indiana, Michigan, Ohio area, but I spent 12 years with my father, following him to Haiti as a missionary. So that hence is my last name. I did marry a Haitian. So, and I do speak Creole. So that's a little bit about me. I do business insurance, so I do commercial. I do liability, workers' comp, auto, and so just, you might know a lot about insurance, but the one thing I do want to touch on, as we've just come from a hurricane, is yes, you can have insurance, but you need to know your numbers. You need to know exactly what you are insured for. Just having insurance, one thing, I do commercial auto. I don't do any personal lines, but one thing I hear is I have full coverage. do you even know what full coverage is? Like, please don't, when people say they have full coverage, they have no idea what they have. And that is just a key word of knowing you don't know what you have. You need to know your limits, because you could think you have, you know, the rental if you get in an accident, but you need to know exactly what you're covered for. Because if you are driving a Corolla and you hit a Mercedes and you are insured for the limits of $10,000, you're still going to get sued for the rest of that money, because that $10,000 is not going to cover that Mercedes that you hit. So, and the same thing within business. People like, oh, I insured all my rental properties, I insured my business, you know, water started leaking through the ceiling. There is a difference between hurricane insurance, flood insurance, and there's a difference between wind. So if wind came rushing through, you know, broke the window, but if water started rising, you need flood insurance, not just because the hurricane did it. You actually need to have flood insurance to cover all of those contents in that building. So a lot of people call me, hey, I had wind, I had hurricane, but you actually had water rising, so you needed flood. So just knowing that you have contents, what are those limits for, exactly what is it that it covers. I've had people that I'm not always the cheapest, but I will be honest about where you're at. I do have people that are willing to pay a little bit more just for the relationship. I'm not out here to just get a buck, but to also just educate people on those things, because it is very sad when pizzerias on the beach got wiped away and they're now calling and saying, but I had insurance, and like you had not, like you're insuring your property for $100,000, and yes, when you bought it, it was worth $100,000, but now with inflation, it is now $300,000 that your building is worth. And so now, yes, you got a check for $100,000, but you need $300,000 to rebuild it. So you've got a $200 gap. So those are just things that I like to explain, that I like to educate on. Like, I want to know how much you're putting into this. Do you just want liability? Do you want to cover your property? Do you want to cover your contents? And that is all up to you. But just knowing that those things are available to you and educating yourself on that. Also, Ashley touched on it a little bit as well, as in, you want to make sure you do cover yourself with something, or at least, you know, the value of all of it, because they will hit your personal accounts if you do not have enough insurance, or if you don't have insurance at all. So that little, you know, $10,000 you got tucked away somewhere, thinking that, oh, you know, I'm good. If something does happen and you're not properly insured, they will come after your personal assets. So if you've got an LLC, an Inc., a corporation, any of that on the end of your business name, you need to at least start with something is better than nothing, but just educating yourself on what it is exactly that you need and you need to insure yourself for is very important. I will be up here for any questions that anyone has. Thank you for your time.
So I tricked you guys. I love to talk. I wanted to go last because I didn't want to be interrupted. No, I'm joking.
Sit down.
So I know a few of you guys in the room. My name is Brian Franklin. If you've never met me before, I own and run B Frank Solutions. I have experience in property and casualty in the past, so I know a little bit, but these guys are the experts. But my real niche is going to be in the health insurance market. Pretty much a lot of the things that one of my partners, Merle, said, I do that as well. So we talk about Medicare, we talk about life, final expense, but what I do very well is going to be in the health insurance side. Now, why that's important to you guys sitting here is because many of you in the room are entrepreneurs or going in, or at least whether you're thinking about becoming a business owner or you come to the point in time where you're trying to figure out, well, how do I take care of my health care? To take a step back, when you guys think about insurance, insurance is only there to cover a risk. How many of you guys know that life is risky? How many of you guys know that business is risky? All right. Well, insurance is, and there's a textbook definition that is not going in my head, but it's basically the business of covering those risks. We're going to say, hey, if there's a risk that someone hits you, that okay, how would you take care of your medical bills? Is there a risk that, I joke with a friend. I say, hey, that telephone pole out there that you're driving past, there's insurance for the guy who put it up. There's insurance for whether it's going to fall down. There's insurance for everything. Everything can be insured. So when you think about your life interactions, what risk can you have and what insurance goes with that? Well, the type of insurance I deal with is on the health side. Many people are, when they're in the phase of should I leave my job, are stuck with something called the golden handcuffs. You ever heard of the golden handcuffs? The golden handcuffs means I love this job. I hate this job, but I love the benefits. And I have a business idea that's going to change the world or my community. I want to sell cakes, I want to get into photography, I want to open up a dance studio, I want to, whatever the concepts you may have, and you don't leave that job. You stay there because that's where your life insurance and your health insurance and all of those things there. So then when you go, for some of us who are bold enough to go into entrepreneurship, they do so without any of the coverages that they had prior to that. Or some people never make the jump. Well, one of my roles, of the many roles, is to take the health insurance part out of your hands and give you a plan on how to grow your benefits over time, and then eventually to be able to give your benefits to employees. So I do group health insurance as well as individual. Insurance is a boring thing, okay? The only people who love insurance are the people right in front of you guys. But the second group of people who love insurance are the people who need it and it works the best. So it's like being in a vehicle and deciding to put your seatbelt on in the middle of a car accident. Okay, when do you put the seatbelt on? Before the accident or afterwards? Before, right? And that's when it's going to be the best help for you. So what I find is that most people, when they hear the insurance word, their brain cut off. I was actually surprised to see all you guys here today. Because I was like, oh, it's insurance. We're not talking about giving out loans. I don't know if everybody's going to be here. But I'm proud of you guys for attending this, because when it comes to protecting the risk in your life, you want someone who is very well versed and connected with plenty of resources and who cares about you to not only explain what you need, but also understand the things you may not know that you need. And sometimes you get around the insurance agents, you're thinking about upsells, or my premium went up, or you just trying to sell me this something extra. Well, again, when's the best time to have the seatbelt? Before the accident. On the health insurance side, some people say, I'll be all right. I haven't seen a doctor in 10 years. I'm going to tell you what, that is not a good thing. That is not a good thing, especially if you drink your Mountain Dew and eat pizza. I'm talking about myself. Right? So I had some notes, and I was trying to stall because I was trying to get my notes to go to the tablet, but it didn't work, and I don't want to squint at my phone. I wear glasses, and I got them with health insurance, but I left them home. But when it comes to insurances, you want to have, on the health insurance side, you want coverage when you need it most. Because you never know whether you hit your elbow, as simple as that, or you're working on a site and you fall, whatever the case may be, you want some sort of protection that says, hey, if I'm in a hospital room, I don't get a $20,000 bill. How many of you guys can foot, $50K right now? Anybody living like that? I'd like to be your friend. Right? Okay, an emergency room visit can be life-changing for some people. And there are some people in our family or lives that say, well, as long as I owe them, they'll never go broke. That's what my grandmother used to say. As long as I owe them, they never go broke. So you'll get that bill in the mail, and you'll get the next bill in the mail, and then they'll write it off in collections, and that's your plan for healthcare. That's not a plan, that's a lack of plan. Right?
Yeah.
So, this is my right hand right here. So, in regards to what? Give me something specific.
Not a bad team. It's okay.
Okay, exactly. Okay, boom. I was trying to see what you were saying. So in addition to health insurance, there's ancillary benefits like supplemental health insurance. So sometimes a person will go, well, I have health insurance through an employer, or if you're under 26, maybe through parents, or whatever the case may be, but there's gaps there. And you find yourself saying, well, I have health insurance, but my deductible is $8,000. Again, can any of us foot 8 G's right now for a medical emergency? Most of us can't. We should, but we can't. Well, there are policies out there that will actually pay off your deductible, and they cost like $10, $12 a month for some people. I mean, it's going to vary, depending on your age and stuff like that. But for very little money, you can have a plan in place that only exists to pay off deductibles. Also, there's plans in place where I call them reverse health insurance. There's plans that you can get where you say, well, this will pay my co-pays for doctor visits at a set amount. So, for example, I sort of planned, it was an indemnity plan, it's called, where a person, every time they go to the doctor's office, they get $120. So if that doctor visit was $60, or if it was $110, no matter what, they get $120 for going to the doctors. Each time they go see a doctor with sick visit or preventative. If they need an x-ray, they get $200. So things like that. The interesting thing about the insurance industry is that, I joke around with clients, there is a product, generally speaking, for every concept and every risk you may have. Anything you think of within the realm of reasonable. Obviously, it's harder to write a policy with somebody in a hospital bed. But I've actually done that before, but that kind of slims down. But without ranting, because I feel like I'm ranting now, to digress, I work in health insurance. I'm the bee's knees. If you have any questions, I would love to answer them, and I'm gonna sit down like that.
Now, normally what I would do is open it up for questions, but I do have another friend here today, and I need to give her this 5 minutes because it's for you as a business. It's an opportunity for you to engage yourself in something that goes on here annually. And I'm gonna share this with you too, who's also contemplating is the Edison Awards folks looking for an opportunity to engage with us as well. I got that email the other day. So before that, Ms. Debbie, you would like to take a minute and explain to the businesses, and that applies to all of you as a business.
See, he already forgot my name. I'm Karen Moore.
Karen Moore.
Oh my gosh. So he's paying me back for being late. I so apologize. Okay, so how many of you have gotten in your car, you hit the GPS, and you just go? Have you done this before? That's what I did. And I'm 10 minutes into the drive and I'm going, I'm not going to the Southwest Florida Enterprise Center. I'm going back to the last place I was. And I just was, so I know that doesn't fly with him at all. And if you ever do this to Lee and you're late or you don't do as he directed you, I'm going to owe him now for the rest of my life.
You want to hear about it?
And he whispered that in my ear as I went up to him. He said, you know you owe me forever. So that being said, thank you so much. I won't take 5 minutes, but I do have the pleasure and honor of working with Lee on a committee that we're both on. It is through the Horizon Council, and the Horizon Council is a business advisory board to our Lee County Commissioners. And Lee has been on the Horizon Council for many more years than me. And but we serve together on a committee called the Inclusion and Diversity Committee. And last year, well, every year, the Horizon Council gives out these awards. They are business awards, and there's usually 6 or 7 every year. Last year, for the first time, there was an Inclusion and Diversity Award. And the work of the committee, primarily Guido Manaya, who is the chair for many years, got that award off the ground last year. This year, it's the second year we're doing this award. We changed the name to Diversity in Business so that it's a little bit less political for many people using the terms. And it's all about the same topic, diversity in business, whether you are you have a diverse workforce or you are a minority owner of a business. So that is the main reason I'm here today, because we want to talk about this. I wanted to talk about the deadline for this award application for 2023 is this coming Friday, June 30th, 11:59 p.m. And we really want to get a lot of participation from everybody. I'm going to say the average business owner, and I don't want you to take that in any kind of a judgment way, because I'm an average business owner. Everything that these honorable folks were talking about, I'm probably one of those people that am not doing almost all of the things that they're saying we should be doing, because I'm paying the bills day to day with my business, and I'm struggling just like everybody else. But we want to make sure we honor and give the opportunity to honor every level of business in this community. It's not just those that have been around for 30 years and are well established. These awards are set up to recognize every member of our business community, and we want people to feel welcome to participate. I'm stepping down as a judge for the awards this year in order to help people do their applications, fill out these applications if they want the assistance. They are much easier to get through than they were last year, but it still takes some effort. And my day job is I'm the publisher of a newspaper called Southwest Florida Business Today. So I am living with words all day long, and that's what I do, and I'm very comfortable with it. And I'm very happy to help anyone to fill out that application. I just did a Zoom meeting with a young man who, it was just phenomenal. He had told me his business story prior, but once we got into this interview situation, just a Zoom meeting between the two of us, he really got into what makes his business tick and why his business deserves this recognition. And it really made me feel good that I can help him put that into writing and actually get that across to the judges when they're reading it. So anybody who needs that help, let me know. We are coming up quickly. I would need a little bit of notice in order to help you. The website is industry appreciation, it's actually IAA.com, which stands for Industry Appreciation Awards. And if you need any help with navigating that, once you get to that point in the website, or you want help with the application once again, just let me know. My cell phone number is the best way to reach me, and that's 770-7527. And yes, I would need a little bit of advance notice in order to set up an appointment with you. We'd probably take about an hour to go through it, and then we'd have to, just work together to get that done by the deadline for you. Yes, ma'am?
I was just wondering, could you share with the business owners, like, what are some of the basic qualifications that they have to have? And like you said, the person wrote a story about their achievement and their kind of barriers and stuff and how they overcame them. Are you looking for stories from business, and do the business have to be, can the business be a new business, maybe only open for 6 months or 2 months?
Okay, really good questions. I'm gonna see if I can remember all of them, otherwise help me remember them, because my short-term memory is really bad. But I'll start with new businesses. Wink, wink, nod, nod. If you're brand new, no. Like first year, so that is a really good question. I would just say no, because you don't have enough history. So it would be probably 3 years, 2 or 3 years that you've been in business. And that would really be, that's a great, great point. Qualifications, there is, they do look at all these different categories, and there is a financial component, and I know that's usually one that makes all of us go, oh wow, I don't really want to be sharing my finances. But you don't have to get into detail on it. There's one question related to the financial side, and again, I can help you navigate that question. You also asked about telling your story. It's actually, the application is, I didn't bring one with me, but it's actually broken into like 8 sections. And so there's the different parts. There's the one on the financial, there's one on, with the Inclusion and Diversity Award, there's one on inclusion and diversity, there's one on community involvement, there's your company history, what kind of benefits you offer. You don't have to fill out all the blanks. It doesn't, it's just those questions are there as part of consideration. And there is an other area that you can add additional information, which is the gentleman I was talking with. He had some things that were not even covered as part of those questions, and I said, go ahead and put that in the other section. And the other important point that you didn't directly ask, but it's a good part of this, because one of my friends said, well, Karen, there's only one section. She's a Hispanic business owner. She said, Karen, there's only one section on inclusion and diversity. That doesn't cover it. And I said, you can work into the answers of each one of your questions, inclusion and diversity. So you can work in, if you just read the question, and again, that's what I'm here for. I can help you navigate it. But it will take a little bit of time to fill out, and that's why, again, I'm willing to help. Now, who was laughing behind me? Why was I hearing the laughing? Were you holding up?
I did
Were
not
you doing
laugh.
this?
I did not laugh.
Were you doing this?
But I did make a comment. Somebody told me they wasn't going to take 5 minutes. I'm just saying.
I got questions.
Okay, I'm not blaming you 100%.
We're going to take our show on the road, but I'm gonna get out of here so you can get on with the rest of your program. Does anybody else have any other questions, though? And if not, he knows where to find me, so you can just say to Lee, I need to find Karen, where is she?
I will say this to you all, is that this is mainstream here in Lee County for business. And I would not be shy to make the call. Who cares? You get it, you get it. You don't, you don't. But then you're out there. They know you're here, then. They know you're in business here. You become somebody that's now in the mainstream. The Rising Council is about as mainstream in Lee County as you can get for its businesses.
And now I gotta add one more thing.
I'm not even.
The gentleman who I helped this year, he was a finalist last year. So he has part of his signature and part of on his emails, every time he sends out an email, that he was a finalist for this award last year. So once you get those titles, you own them. You keep them. So you could be a finalist. You might not win, but you could be one of the finalists. You still own that. So go for that. Go for that marketing stuff. That's what I was telling my client that I was helping. I said, this is all about marketing. This is all about bragging. I know you're normally very humble, but in this case, you gotta brag and go for it. Get those marketing rights.
It don't hurt.
And that's my job.
Thank you very much.
I'm gonna take my toilet paper and my dish liquid that I got, and my garbage and my water. Oh, there is no fee. I am not charging anybody anything. Very good question. Thank you for mentioning that.
Don't y'all actually know that.
And that's
She
what-
gonna take it up. I'm just kidding.
So if Lee tells you I charge, you better not to pay him anything, okay?
Right out your
Okay, you get that. You get that. Okay, now we're back to insurance. I want to make a couple comments. I may want to wait and see if these guys are going to bring it up. My business insurer is Craig, and he couldn't be here because he had to be up north this week with his family, mother situation. So everything these panelists are telling you is very valuable to you as a business person. But there's other things that if Craig would have been here, I know he would have, because he's the one that got me involved and engaged at this level of insurance. There are certain policies as a business owner. How many of you own your business? How many of your families depend on your business? Being successful, making money. Oh, so none of y'all family depend on you making money in your business? Only one person in the room? So why y'all in business? Just for something to do.
Well, we're not there yet.
When you say you're not there yet, what do you mean you're not there yet? The point is, if you break both your legs, you can go out there and do it, will it impact your house?
Yes, sir.
Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Oh, wait a minute, not nobody can't talk. If you can't talk, how you gonna do business? I asked you a good question and I ain't getting no answer. This is serious stuff.
If I broke my leg, my feet is gonna be broke.
That's what I'm talking about. If you could not do what you're doing right now in business, does it impact your household? Yes or no?
Yes.
Raise your hand if it does. Okay. I know it impacts you. There's no question. But it also impacts your house and your family. How many of you got people working for you? 1, 2, it don't matter how many. Does it impact them if you can't go to work?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Oh, now I'll be finding out something. There are policies. Brian did one good thing today. You know, I have to watch him. He kind of slips and slides. But he said some very good stuff today. He told you insurance is risk coverage. And I wish Craig would have been here because he could have told you he was out for a while. He couldn't work. And he had this disability insurance for business owners that paid him $12,000, $14,000 a month for 6 months or 8 months. That kept his business and everything going. How many of you got that, something like that? If you fell and broke your arm today and you couldn't do nothing for 8 weeks or 2 months, most of us can be out of business at 2 months or 3 months now. We go under. Am I right or wrong?
Yes.
So, but that insurance that he got, you could get. Did you know it was out there to get? Did you talk to anybody about disability insurance? Or? No. How many of you ever heard of key man policy? Oh, we got 2 or 3 in here that have heard of it.
I heard it from you.
For me, oh, okay, just checking. Really, how many of you have you not heard of it? Raise your hand. Let me ask you a question. Are you key men in your business? There we go again. Ain't nobody quiet.
They don't know what, they may not know what key man is.
They don't know what key, do y'all know what key man is? If you had to guess what a key man is, what would you think that would be?
There you go. My man.
It's you again. You're the key man or the key woman. It's called the key man policy. It's you. You own your business. You're the owner. You're the cheese. You're the hot dog. You know, I ain't gonna tell y'all what they said in the old days, what they do. The head, no, I can't.
We on camera.
We don't care. But the point I'm trying to make people, these are things out there that you need to know. I had a partner that died about 8, 9 years ago. She didn't even know anything about it. She owned Outback Steakhouses, Carrabba's, she's at 5 airports. She does all this, didn't ever heard of it till I brought it up to her. And Craig and I helped get her taken care of. She passed away. Paid $2 million to her in the business. And all of us partners got paid, and we got all the bills paid, we got everything. The key man policy is what happens if something happens to you, your children and your household will go under because you did. Your partners stay in place and help you with your business. The money's there to replace you. It's not that money you can go, your family go on vacation with. It's connected to your business. It gives you what you need, your family or whoever, to either hire somebody to replace you or to sustain the business until they get back on their feet and get everything back running. Because if something happens to you that runs it or heads it, everything is disarray. A lot of people just go out of business. But this gives you something that you can bank on that's going to be there for your family and you. How many times did both of them, October and Brian talked about if something happened to you, if you ain't got no insurance for your family, people going around borrowing money from everybody, trying to get you buried. Well, if you got employees working for you and your own family, everybody goes in the hole because something happened to you.
Can I interject, please?
Yeah.
So the basic idea with, and it's hard for insurance agents sometimes to get this message out to people without it sounding like a sales pitch, but I want you to consider it almost like a doctor giving you a warning about cholesterol or a personal trainer giving you a warning about cardiovascular health. In our profession, we see that there's a risk everywhere, and we can cover it. I mean, when you think about your imagination of what you would consider something being a risk, there is a policy for that, right? So, for example, the young lady to my right talked about the word umbrella policy. Some of these words may go over you guys' heads, but there's a, can I speak a second?
No.
Okay. I don't want to step on her toes. Because again, I'm not property and casualty, but anyway, so you may have policies that cover your vehicle in your home. And I have a homeowner's policy, I have a car insurance because the state makes it that I have it, right? And it has limits, like the gentleman to my left said. Umbrella policy takes all of those liabilities and puts literally an umbrella to cover everything that you're liable for underneath it and protects you from a lawsuit. For the most part, you're protected from lawsuits. And I don't know if you guys know this, but a lot of the insurance industry, at least on that side, is lawsuit protection. That's the risk they're trying to help you with. Yeah. So when it comes to lawsuit protection, a lot of people don't understand how quick. I mean, if you think about the signs all over the city, how quick a lawsuit can start. And just being, we're not talking about losing a lawsuit. We're talking about just being in the fight is expensive. Just to say, hey, I'm going through a legal battle. Yeah. So when you have these type of policies in place, the insurance companies are not just having money set aside, they're coming with lawyers. They are helping you win. Because they don't want to lose that money in the lawsuit either, right? So you have them on your side, right? So that's a protection against those type of liability issues. Then when you think about key person, that's if your business partner, if I open up a mechanic shop with my partner, and I'm the brains behind it, the marketing, and he's the mechanic, and we're fixing people's cars, and we're making good money. Okay, if he dies, I have no mechanic. And while I'm working through this, well, he has half the rights to the business. Well, technically his wife gets those rights. Does she know how to fix cars? No. I may want to buy her out. I want to be able to give money to their family and to respect him as my partner and his family, and to be able to replace him as a mechanic for the business, I could produce a life insurance policy that the business pays for, right? That the beneficiary of that policy would be the business or his wife or myself, and they all work in various ways. Insurance policies are vehicles that you have to be educated. Just how you know your car works, you want to know how your policy works. And every hole that you may have in your business and personal life can be covered by a policy one way or another. And as business owners, you guys have to know how your policies work, because the worst thing to do is find out on that day that you need it most, I don't have enough of this to get this taken care of. Now, a lot of us put on our big boy pants. Like when I got my homeowner's policy, for the first time I just bought a house, I had a high deductible. I got my policy last year on September 1st, and I had a high hurricane deductible. And I had to put my big boy pants on because I was trying to save some money. On September 1st last year, do you guys know what happened on September 29th last year? I got my first hurricane. Before I paid my mortgage, I already had damage. It was done. And it was my first home, and I had to call my insurance agent, and she told me what I already know, but I just wanted someone else to tell me. I was like, is there anything I can do about it? No, Brian, because you understood the policy, because I used to be an agent as well, and common sense. You chose a 10K plus deductible. You on the line for 10K. Our damage was more, so I got the difference. But regardless, when it comes to life insurance, I'm going to digress so the other guys can speak. When it comes to life insurance, health insurance, your liability, all of that, if you don't know what you have, you are in as dangerous spot as not having it at all in some cases, in my opinion. And there's people who have life insurance policies that go, I don't know. I just talked to one of my former clients last night, and she said, yeah, I signed up. I haven't even looked at it. What do I got again? I said, girl, what are you talking about? What do you mean? So I got to send her policy to her. And I just want you guys to be aware of what it doesn't do and what it does do. Does that make sense? All right, that's my spill. I'm sorry, guys. Go ahead.
Okay.
I will add a little bit onto that too, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I noticed one other thing I also do event insurance. So even if you aren't always doing your business, when you go to the little festivals where you have a little catering business or something like that, I do week policies or day by day or just for festivals and stuff like that. So if you just need it for an event or something like that, I also do I do write those insurance. But one thing I do want to caution people on is when you don't have insurance for your business and you stick one of those things on your car to say that this is what you're doing, let me tell you, please don't do that. Just let your car ride, because one thing that will happen is if you are doing that, they do have access to sue that business that you are referring to on the side of your car. So whatever, I don't care if you write it in one of those little washable crayons, if it's a magnet, if you ain't got that insurance on there, please do not advertise your business on your vehicle.
Well, and on the personal line side of that, whoever your auto insurer is, they're going to think of you using your personal auto as a business outlet, and they have the right to reject coverage, so that could put you in a worst case scenario situation.
Even if you've been paying.
Even if you've been paying your premiums, but they look at it as a breach of the contract because they're insuring you for personal use, not commercial use. Hence why we have inflated rates on personal and commercial lines insurance, because things are not being done correctly, and there are some issues that are way above all of our pay grades within the state, that there needs to be some regulatory changes to alleviate the expenses of it. As an insurance agent, my least favorite bills to pay are my insurance policies, but they are the policies that I will always make sure receive payment, because those are the ones that are protecting everything that I've worked hard for. A little personal tidbit on myself. I'm a single mom of a 6-year-old little boy. That boy relies on me. So I have life insurance for myself. I have 2 employees that work for me. They rely on their employment to provide for their families. I have insurance for that. I have structured my business in a way that if I don't go to work the next day or come home the next day, that the people that are relying on me personally to show up and offer employment and provide for them and their families are going to be taken care of as well. As an entrepreneur and a business owner, you know, whether it be yourself or you have 15 employees, you inherit a whole nother set of responsibilities when you're in business for yourself. You have to take accountability and making sure that you're doing your part to alleviate the hardships for others because they're relying so much on you. It's a very complex industry, and finding somebody that you can have those hard conversations with to really truly understand is extremely important. You may have, I'm assuming everybody in this room has some sort of insurance policy, correct?
Yes.
Okay. When was the last time you took a look at your policy or had a conversation with somebody regarding their insurance policies? Anybody? It's been a little bit? Okay. So whether you go to your existing agent because you have that trusted relationship or you reach out to one of us who specialize in that, it doesn't hurt to get somebody's second opinion. That's one thing that I've turned away so much business in the past year because of our current market conditions, but it's people reaching out looking for something better, something cheaper, and a lot of our conversations are, we did a policy review of what you currently have, and what you have is a good policy. It has you covered for X, Y, Z, and everything. Do not get rid of this policy until the market softens and we have some more options outside of hurricane season. It's not just trying to secure the business, it's making sure that you understand the policy as the consumer or the business owner, but making sure that you feel comfortable in understanding. And if that person cannot answer the questions that you have regarding your policy, that's when you go on and have a conversation with another insurance agent to really understand, like, the education portion. I have a background in education, that's what I went to school for. I wanted to be a teacher. I learned very quickly that I did not want to be a teacher, and that's how I ended up in the insurance industry, because one, it's challenging and I get to learn every single day, but I get to educate people on the importance of insurance, the need for insurance, what insurance can do for you. I'm licensed, I can do what Brian does. Craig, Lee's mentioned, is a personal friend of mine, extremely knowledgeable in the industry. His slogan is, I hope he watches this, he wears glasses, so he's second set of eyes on portfolio reviews and going over your coverage and making sure you understand what you need. So if you take anything away from what I have to say today, understand your policy, and find somebody that you can ask those hard questions to make sure you understand your policy. We've all experienced, especially after Hurricane Ian, from a business standpoint. I had a client with a big commercial building out on St. James City. Let me tell you, that was a hard one to swallow because it had extensive damage. The insurance company paid out for what he needed because he, as much as he did not want to pay that insurance premium, 6 months prior to, he was very thankful he did because of the extent of the damage, and it would have made a huge financial impact on his future and his business's future, both personally and on the business side, if he did not have the insurance and the correct insurance. So just make sure you're educating yourself and really fully understanding what you're getting into. And I'm not saying call one of us and say, I need this policy, this policy, this policy, and bankrupt yourself, but have those, I like to call them coverage reviews. I like to get into the nitty gritty of knowing who you are on a personal side and knowing your business and the financial health of you personally and the financial health of your business to make sure, like today you might be starting off and you can't afford, a high commercial auto liability policy and then excess liability to cover for the unforeseen, that umbrella policy. But it's something that you're working towards, and just continuing to have those annual conversations with your insurance agent to make sure that as your business grows and the financial health of your business grows, that you're protecting your assets and what you're working for.
Very good.
You can cut me off now.
Yeah. I saw it too a couple times.
I know,
But,
sorry. I didn't want to
how many of you are single parents? Single parents. One. We only got one in there? Okay. That's all. Oh, two. Okay. Well, the point here with that is not only you, but everybody needs to do this. Everybody that I brought in here so far in these workshops, and we got a few more to go, As I stress to all of you, especially you all that are our clients, that you need to find people in all these areas and develop relationships with them. It's very important because there's things about it that you have no clue about. But people don't share what they don't feel comfortable with people sharing. It's no different than you. If you're talking to somebody, you're not really comfortable with that person, you're not going to be as open with them as you would somebody you're comfortable with and you feel good about. But it's important that you find you somebody. Amen. One of these people, and then they call you in and tell you the hard stuff. Say, no, honey, if you do this now, you know you're taking a risk. It's okay if you got to, but I'm just saying, and remember, I'm warning you, this is risky. I got sued. I told some of my clients already heard this story. And my lawyer and everybody we talked to knew I was going to win the case. But it cost me $45,000. I had to pay my lawyer and I had to pay my fees and stuff. To win a case, we knew we were going to win before we even started. That's just because people feel like, just like they said, they want some money. So they throw a lawsuit together and they go, we're going to find a lawyer willing to go with you. You understand? You need to protect yourself. There's no game out there. There's rewards in being in business. There's great rewards in being in business. It's good to be in business. You walk with pride, you take care of yourself, you're good to take care of your family, you're helping your community, you're engaged, you're doing things, it's just great. But you got to get past that baptism period, we call it, in my circle. That baptism period is that process period when you got to go through those valleys to get to the top of the hill, and you got to climb it, and then you got to start unloading weight. You know the story about the mountain climbing, right? The higher you get, the less you can carry. You understand? All that is process, but you got to learn through that, and the only way you learn, because you don't know everything, is you got people like that, lawyers, all these other accountants, CPAs, people that are with you, that's guiding you and assisting you on the way. And all these people that tell you they made it on their own to the top, they're lying to you. And then most of them even lying to themselves. Nobody makes it on their own. No one. Right now I have 6 businesses. I always said 7, but it's 6. But I'm here with you all every day almost. We're building houses. I got 285 employees working at the airport. I got another business with people raising money. We got 40 million coming into Lee County. I'm doing a lot of stuff, and I'm here with you. How can I do that? I can't do that by myself. I'd be foolish to even think that. Trust me, you can't either. Whatever it is you're doing, don't have that attitude. Get you some help. Just know you need more time with Brian than everybody else. Brian likes to, Brian can talk. I like messing with him. I like messing.
Say something else.
So, now, please, ask. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say Deanna's my personal business person, and
Who?
Deanna.
Deanna.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. That's my
What do you mean?
And she's my Facebook friend, but when I tell you she look out for me, I can call her anytime and ask her about my business, and she gonna pick up the phone and she educate me. Charlene, you need this. And it's been times where I could have done something that I wasn't supposed to do, and she was like, no, you need insurance for this, you need insurance for that. I'm like, that's insurance? So she really educates you and saves you in the long run. And she's like, when they say State Farm and stuff, that's her.
Very good. That's a good one. So, any more questions for the panel? I'm gonna shut up and get out of the way. I got somebody back to ask Brian getting ready to say something. She ain't saying nothing yet. Not you, baby girl. She over here in the amen corner in the back. Anybody questions for the panel? Boy, y'all folk go
I have a
ahead.
question. You want me to stand up and say my
You don't have to stand up.
Okay. So my name is Courtney Seiler. I own a fitness building. So I have a studio here, like over there. So I wasn't sure. I have the regular insurance, right? The liability insurance. But what other insurances do you think I might need for my business?
Were you running a fitness studio?
Do you have equipment?
Yes.
Is your equipment covered?
No.
You need to cover that, because where they will get you as a liability is in, they will reject you if one of them weights fall in that tow because you do not have insurance for that equipment.
Okay. Would that be like the only one you guys think?
That's pretty much with the fitness, as long as you have liability, that should fit the requirement, but most of the studios that I insure, if you do any personal training, make sure that your policy does cover that personal training aspect. Sexual abuse or harassment as well. Because if you are doing personal training and they say, she touched my butt while she was helping me lift, or she grabbed me or something like that, they will go for you.
It don't matter if it's true or not.
Yeah, they will go for
You understand that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that personal gets you that one-on-one, because a lot of policies like that are fit on just group. And when you get that personal, most of the time you're gonna be in there with one other person or two, and they both could go against you and say, yeah, I saw her do it. So then they got a witness to corroborate whatever it is. And if you don't have that like sexual abuse or molestation or something like that, that puts you liable for sexual harassment. So equipment and that sexual harassment, I would add.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have waivers of liability for your customers
Yeah,
to
so
sign?
yes, I have to sign a waiver.
That's good.
I do it like the old school way, paper.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Just hold it for a long time. A long
I have
time.
them, yeah.
Yeah,
And when you decide if you don't want to continue your business, I would also suggest getting something called tail coverage, that even if they decide they want to come after you after your business is already shut down, if something happened while your business was running and you don't have that tail coverage, they can still go after you for the time that you were in business. So that's just for anybody. Yeah. If you're doing something with that type of anything with most of exposures, mostly food, not because they can't really prove food poisoning stuff, but if you're doing something and it happens during a time where you did have insurance, but you no longer have insurance, you would want something to cover yourself, but that's more towards retirement age, but that's just a suggestion.
Go ahead.
What about when you're working with youth, people under 18? If you got kind of like a social service center or something?
That would be the same thing, that sexual abuse, molestation type of thing. I would get it anytime that you're working with anyone where you're in a place where they could be touched, for real. Like, I see that get more touched on than a lot of the liability, is the sexual molestation.
What type of insurance is that title? What is that title?
It's abuse and sexual molestation. It's
not-
literally
That's
that.
literally-
Yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah,
Is
it's
it a-
that straightforward.
Is it I'm just curious for me, is that a standalone, or is that a rider?
It depends on what you're already doing. Some of them will add it as a rider, and some of them, like I have insurance companies that have a better premium for exactly what you're doing, but then you can add it as a separate. So it all just depends on what you're doing and the premiums I can work out. Sometimes it's actually cost effective for me to separate the two, because maybe you're not doing it as much, but it all just depends, but it can work together.
So as a heads up, a lot of insurances, whether we're talking health or life, liability, have these things called riders. And what a rider is, think of it like buying a vehicle and then going from the standard to the heated seats or the sunroof, right? So what you can do is you can have a policy with a policy that has a purpose, a design purpose, but there's an ancillary thing you want to add on to that. So for example, in my industry, say if I was doing life insurance, I could do a policy where it says, hey, we're insuring your life, but we're adding your children's policy, a small child policy, and then it's your policy, but they're being covered underneath yours. That'd be a rider. And what I was asking her was, okay, say if certain businesses like your own, in some cases what she's saying is, hey, I have liability insurance like every other business, but because of the type of work that I'm doing, instead of getting a standalone policy, this is just an add-on to it. Sometimes she's saying it can be cost effective to combine things together, and then sometimes it doesn't make sense, you know? And you would only know that by doing what Lee said and having that intimate relationship with your insurance agent, because they'll know you well enough to go, okay, this particular thing isn't in your best interest. You know, if that makes sense.
Yes. Also, another thing I want to include as I'm actually looking at the window is if you do have a building, to check to see if you do have glass coverage. Because again, a lot of the businesses are covered for liability, but if somebody wants to throw a rock through your window, you don't have vandalism or you don't have glass coverage, you're going to be out of pocket for that window. So that's just a suggestion.
The same go for the medical, the same insurance go for the medical, health care?
I don't do the medical healthcare side, but I could imagine.
So, are you talking about like
Home
medical
health.
malpractice and like professional liability? Like, can I ask what's your business?
Home health.
Home health.
Home health.
So there are, I haven't done one in a long time, but there is a specific carrier that offers coverage for someone who is in a home doing home health.
Yes.
And it would include, you know, the sexual harassment, molestation, along with protecting you if you're doing needle sticks and stuff like that. So it's more of a professional liability policy with malpractice, especially if you're going home to home and doing more
Yes.
intimate care settings. So there is coverage for that.
And Florida has some of the toughest laws and opportunities for people to sue when you're dealing with the aged and disabled.
Yeah.
So like so that group, that demographic, elderly law in the state are like, they will go out, they don't care. And as far as, that's the legal part, and just as far as civil suits, one grandson who hasn't seen his grandfather in years can say, I think they hurting on him, and then boom, you got a lawsuit. So having those protections are a smart thing to do.
I have a question. You mentioned about having a policy and having a child as a rider. I'm glad you brought it up because that was something I was just thinking about last week. How long does because she was maybe 8 when I got that policy for her. She was a rider under a primary policy for myself. How long does that child, when she hit a certain age, does she fall off? That goes back to, I should know.
On the
what
life
my
side or health
policy is.
insurance?
On health insurance?
Life insurance.
For life, okay. For life insurance, typically most policies are gonna write into 18 or 21, but that's gonna be with life insurance, there's an average, but it's not standard. Every policy will be different basically, right? So within your policy, it'll tell if it's gonna drop off or not. Most of the time, for the carriers that I work with, they're gonna say, hey, we'll cover this person into 21. And then they'll drop off, but they'll give opportunities prior to that to pull that policy off and have it stand alone in a way of offering it to that child directly or just various ways. And then one of the things we'd have to figure out would be, is it a term policy, a whole life? As my partner was alluding to, a friend of mine, Murder was alluding to, if it's a term policy, terms are temporary, so they have a set date to end. It's gonna be done, right? So if you have a 20-year term on the 20th year, that policy is basically over. And if it's whole life or a permanent policy, it will last as long as you pay the premium, right? So with that child, I don't know if it's a term, it's most likely a term rider. So it's a 20-year term or 30-year term, but I would have to see it to know for sure. But call, you need to, every person with life insurance needs to do a temperature check on their policy at least once a year, especially if it's not a term. If it's any type of whole life, you need every year to call, hey, what is my policy doing? Because you may have a universal policy and not know it, or just so many things that could be occurring. And insurance companies, I would never dig at insurance agents because I love my partners, but insurance companies do a really bad job of explaining to people what they have in a way that they understand. So you really don't know until you know, and they're not gonna call and tell you, hey, this is happening. But your friend will call and tell you, hey, this is coming due, or this is about to lapse, or so forth. So, and then at some point you just stop reading the mail anyway. So, anyway, I would say call and check.
Well, and to touch on term, if you have term insurance, sometimes those are convertible to whole life policies. So you want to check to see if it is a convertible policy, to convert it over to a permanent insurance policy. And if it is not, then you want to look at what your options are to get into a permanent policy at this stage in your life, because life insurance is an age-attained policy. So the older you get, the more expensive it gets. So if you have a convertible policy, the sooner you convert it, you can convert it at a lower rate versus waiting till the end of the term and then converting it. And if you don't have any life insurance and you're looking to get something, a term policy is the most cost-effective way to get life insurance, but make sure you're purchasing something that is convertible, so that way when you are in a more financial stable position to you put more money towards your life insurance, you can then convert it at that point and continue it on until end of life and not have that expiration date hanging over your head. Not to
No, I
like
got
judging
you.
your.
Fine. Ideally, on the life insurance side of things, if you're talking to anyone about life insurance, the earlier you get life insurance, the better. I've actually had clients that I've talked to them or prospects. I say, hey, do you have a doctor's appointment coming up? Yeah, like in a month. Okay, I want to get you life insurance before you even go to the doctor, dude. Before you even go to the doctor, because they say your blood pressure is high. That's medically documented, you know, off the record. But anyway, off the record. But no, but all jokes aside, little guys, you know, on the life insurance side, on that part, you want to get a permanent policy, something permanent, not term, as young as possible. In a perfect world, everyone's getting a policy in their teenage years when they're the most healthy. The cost that you pay for a permanent policy is so little. You'll, if done correctly, and we're not talking about the investment and all the stuff you see on TikTok or pulling money. I'm not even talking on that level. I'm just saying simply, hey, two things are for certain in life: death and taxes.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, life insurance takes care of those things in various ways. All right. And if you know, okay, at some point I'm going to pass. If I get this policy today at 21 years old or 19 years old, and this policy costs $12 a month, and it has, you know, 200,000 or whatever the amount is, you could actually do the math with your agent and see over, if you live to 100, how much would you put into this policy compared to how much it pays out. And you come to find in most cases, the way they're designed is that life insurance policies will not pay out less than you put in any non-predatory situation. Meaning, hey, as long as you're dealing with something legit and it's not sketchy, and you're not doing like a fancy footwork, stop me if I'm wrong. Hey, I'm paying $10 a month for something that's gonna pay out, you know, $300,000. How many payments would I have to save or put to the side to get $300K? You know, realistically speaking, and then when you think about the fact that, hey, this would pay out $300,000 if I died tomorrow, as well as if I died 20 years from now. And you couldn't, you know, you can't jump from 12 to, so my pitch on that is that as individuals, that's smart, but also as business owners, that's an intelligent thing to do. Because the worst thing you want to do, and I got this from my insurance agent, from my homeowners, which I should have listened because I had a high deductible. She saw me go through the process to get my first home, and I lost more hair in that process. And I took so much to do it. It would be horrible to do everything you can do to grow your business and protect your, and do all these things, and to lose it off of something out of your control and ridiculous, whether it was a freak storm or a lawsuit or a slip and fall or someone lying on your business. Imagine all that sweat equity and you lose it because you didn't say yes to a particular policy. That's good.
Okay, you through preaching now?
I do that. I'm not gonna talk no more. It's 1 o'clock.
Oh yeah, no, okay now. You know you got a lot of witnesses. They heard that. That's good because Craig talked me into getting a permanent policy, paying 10 years, and it's mine from now on, and it grows. Only thing is, I waited till I was in my 50s before I did it. But now I have it paid off in another year or so. It'll be paid off in full, and the limits is just steady growing. I get my little statement every year on progress and how much money is made and how much I have saved. It's a great plan. Permanent insurance on top of the other stuff. My kids are going to do good with it, of course. Grandkids maybe, somebody. Okay, any other questions? Now wait a minute, Dr. Ben. Now you work with me. Now you asking a whole lot of questions. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
This is actually for you. I just want to ask if there's a survey on the desk underneath your agenda. If you guys could just fill that out and turn it over, and I'll collect it later. Thank you.
Yes, please fill out your survey, folks, and get to know these folks. And I have another guy here that's sitting there grinning at me because I know he didn't expect me to introduce him and to bring him up front. But here's another one. I messed up their names and everything. He's a developer in the community, but he has a heart for the community with Blue Water Development, and he really wants to engage in assisting business, especially small business, go from one level to the next. He has some innovative ideas and things that he's already putting into action. And he also likes engaging me in some of this. So I'm gonna have Danny, what is it?
Oh, Lord is right. Danny Aguirre.
Danny Aguirre. Dan, don't be looking to come up.
No, I don't need to go up. A pleasure to be here and to help and to support our community. Man, listening, you should also have business loss insurance, because if you have to close down for a reason or another, then you can get some coverage for that. That's a good business practice. And then to cover for liability, have some cameras. Always protect your assets.
Good point. See, I knew he brought it here for some reason. It took you into the meeting for him to bring it out, but that's cool. Anything else? Doug?
Nope. I work for the Small Business Development Center. We offer no-cost consulting, so if there's anything I can be helping you with, let me know.
Okay. You've been mighty quiet, Kevin. I don't have to let Paul know how quiet you are.
You know, I'm a specializing contractor insurance, but I want to follow up what I was saying before. You know, I sell insurance, but I'm also a businessman. I own my own business, Paul and I, and we work with Insurance Office of America as partners. But you should always ask your insurance agents questions about, you know, what you're doing in business and if it is a good idea. Forget about insurance for a minute, right? So I'll give you a quick story. It'll only take a couple minutes.
Oh, you're not Brian?
No, I'm not Brian. No. So I had a client that is in the disaster mitigation business and thought it was a great idea on September 28th last year to bring his entire fleet of vehicles to Sanibel Island, okay? So the fleet of vehicles was spread throughout the state, right? So you had employees taking the trucks home. So you had them in Lehigh, you had them in Cape Coral, Fort Myers, Bonita, all over, right? Well, this business owner thought that if I got my entire fleet on the island, I'll be the first contractor to do the work, and I'll bank, right? Granted, he has insurance for them 25 vehicles, and we got him checks for the total loss of every one of those vehicles, because every single vehicle flooded, right? But guess what else happened? He might have got 25, he might have got checked for 25 trucks, but you couldn't get a truck, right? And so his business idea to kill it and get ahead of his competition, if he had called me, we could have had a conversation about it, I would have steered him against it, right? Spread of risks on trucks in hurricanes, much better than trying to go to a low-lying barrier island with your entire fleet, right? So just asking questions just in risk and in business, it's a good idea for your insurance agent. Not just to try to sell you a policy, but get their advice, right? That's one, I wish that guy had called me prior to that business decision.
Ooh, that hurts.
That
Just
hurts.
hearing that story.
Yeah. But you guys understand, right?
Oh,
I'd have
yeah.
been mad as hell if I was one of his drivers. I'd have been mad. I'd have been like, you fool, you had me drive over here.
At least he doesn't make the employees sleep in the trucks, right?
Nah, they went home,
No.
right?
You home. Anything else? Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, we're done.
All right.
Thank you.